We're on to our legislative sleepers, by which we do not mean the handful of lawmakers who inevitably take a little cat nap during the marathon floor session. Instead, we're talking about issues. Jim, let's start with you. What was that one sleeper issue that sort of caught your eye at the beginning you were tracking?
Well, it's worth noting that I think of the sleepers more as what fell short and what we know is going to rear its head again come next session. And there's really two key things that stood out to me on that. And one is the tax lightning fix. This has come up. I mean, this has come to the floor for years now. And if something doesn't happen in Santa Fe, then the answer for county clerks is to bring everyone's property values up to market value.
Right. It's a big deal here in Bernalillo County.
It's a scary thing. It's a bigger deal in Santa Fe County.
I could imagine. Right.
But so that's a scary thing, and that's going to keep happening. There was less talk on that issue than there were in prior sessions because the sessions lost some experienced people on that issue. The second issue that we're absolutely going to see again is the constitutional amendment to increase funding for early childhood education. There was a big fight. It was highly publicized all the way through the process of taking the land grant permanent fund, pulling out an additional $113 million from that fund to fund 0 through 5 education programs. It fell short in the end because the Senate Finance Committee chairman was highly opposed to it. It kind of died in that one spot, but it's going to keep coming.
Sure. Let's stay on that one. That's a good one, Jim. I appreciate that. Steve, that very issue of that constitutional amendment, take us through the machinations as you saw that. We get the broad strokes about what happened in that committee. We just talked about John Arthur Smith, not crazy about it, and some other things. What else was going on there that made that thing just not happen at all?
Well, I think it passed the House, it goes to the Senate. The Senate's always more conservative about stuff like that. And John Arthur Smith's just one. He's a powerful senator and he's influential, and he may have indeed killed it. But I don't know how well it would have done even on the Senate floor.
Yeah. What about you for your sleeper issue? What did you see that was qualifies as a sleeper?
This one kind of out in left field, but the marijuana bill. Representative Emily Kane had a bill that would lower penalties on marijuana, and this is in the wake of Colorado voters deciding to legalize marijuana. And it passed the House, and that actually surprised me. Now, it didn't go anywhere in the Senate. I mean, literally, it never got a committee hearing in the Senate. And again, the Senate's more conservative about things like this, so they were very good. They're very pro medical marijuana a few years ago.
Sure.
But I think we're going to see this one come back again and again, and also if in a couple of years we'll see how Colorado's doing. If it falls into a reefer madness chaos up there, then it won't do very well. If it doesn't happen that way, it may have a better and better chance. A few Republicans voted for it in the on the House. And so
if I remember correctly, Washington State had just passed its law not long before that.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So there was something in the air, Matthew, on these things, and sometimes these sign of the times kind of issues can kind of rise and fall. But for you, what was a sleeper that you were watching this session?
Well, one of the sleepers I think we might have all been glad it was a sleeper was the driver's license issue that kind of didn't go anywhere at all. We were kind of all ready for it to come back again and get blasted to the floor again. And it basically had its 2 days in the sun. Which is a lot better than the past few sessions.
Was that in the sun or partly cloudy, actually?
Yeah, it had its 2 days of spotlight. And I think in the past we're used to 5 days of spotlight going through. So that a lot of the social issues didn't really go anywhere. You mentioned the third grade social promotion. That was pretty much non-existent. These are the big issues that Susana Martinez was using as, and her political team was using as a bludgeon against Democrats who voted against it. And this year they're non-existent. Maybe we'll see it again next year when elections are near again. But for this year at least, we're spared the driver's license debate for as much as we were in the past at least.
Interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Rob Nicoleski, the detail of your reporting was interesting to me to be able to follow you every day. But I could imagine there was got to be a lot of sleepers for you. There was so many things.
To me, the most undercovered story was pension reform. Because that is a big issue, not just in New Mexico, but across the country, where you have these publicly funded pensions that have lots of unfunded liabilities. Here in New Mexico, a combined $12 billion in unfunded liabilities, $6 billion in the PERA and $6 billion in the ERB. They both got passed through. What I thought was very interesting was that the AFSCME union, the Municipal Employees Union, supported these reforms. And I think they deserve some. I know
And
they
that was
got-
fairly early on in the
yeah,
process
and
they supported.
You know, and they got a lot of heat from their members, but I think they deserve some credit because so many public employees unions across the country have buried their head in the sand in this. Now it's up to the governor to sign it. Now there's still some talk. Brad Day, for example, who's an ERB trustee, had an op-ed in the Journal the other day saying don't sign these things, that they don't go far enough. But I've got a feeling she might sign them because, first of all, from a political standpoint, it's something that she can hold up and say,
right.
we worked on something together.
That's right.
She also drove a very hard bargain on the amount of that the taxpayers, public employers, have to pay on this. They wanted to have them kick in 1.5%. She was able to get them down to 0.4% on that.
But
So
on that-
I don't know if she'll get a better deal.
Sure. But on that note, on that deal, Steve Terrell, also we had the idea that folks were going to get a 1% raise, you know, state employees. And so there almost is like a swap of money that Rob is potentially talking about here for some state
Well, they
folks.
did get a 1% raise in the budget, and because of the pension stuff, most of that 1%'s eaten away anyway.
Right. So where does that leave the argument? If it's a net zero gain or whatever the term would be, where does that leave people? Is the problem fixed? Is the problem now on the backs of employees themselves, or what's going on here?
It's more on the backs of employees.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there may be some bills next time to try to get another raise.
Sure.
It has been about 5 years since an employee
Something
actually
like
got
that.
a
Yeah.
raise, and this was kind of a. If she does sign the 1%.
Something, Matthew Reibach, was also in the air, and that was gun control. Nationally, locally, it was just out there. It was ready to go. Miguel Garcia had a bill that was most notable about this, but something didn't quite click there. Let's start with the House side. What was your sense of what happened on the House side for gun measures?
On the House side, he introduced like a pretty sweeping bill that would
Mm-hmm.
have had universal background checks. Like even if me and you want to go in the parking lot and I could sell you my gun, then
Mm-hmm.
we'd have to do a background check first legally, and then that was kind of pared down and to only for gun shows. And this was the first year that the bill came in, so that's something important to note because it takes some of these bills like 6, 7, 8, 9,
Sure.
10 years. It took the death penalty repeal 10 years
Right.
to go through.
Right.
So the fact that it got as far as passing the House all the way to the Senate floor, where it was finally killed by 1,000 amendments, right at the end as Steve was there, it's pretty impressive that it made it that far. Now we'll see if as we get further from Newtown, Connecticut, if the political will is there in 2 more years when it comes back.
That's right.
Because I doubt the governor's going to put it on the call next year. But I think it's pretty impressive how far it went in its first year. Because Colorado had their sweeping changes, but they've been looking at these since Columbine. That was
Oh, of course,
I mean,
sure.
That was back when I was in middle school.
What
Interesting,
surprised me
yeah.
about the governor actually signed on to the bill that passed out of the House, and several Republicans voted for that, and it looked like it was a good compromise bill. Now the NRA and the pro-gun people started really putting the pressure on the Senate, and what's difficult to believe is that they saved that literally to the last minute in the Senate.
Any sense of why that happened in your reporting? What was the deal there?
I have theories, but I don't have any proof about anything.
Give us your theory, Steve.
I think Michael Sanchez, the majority leader, was afraid that if he did that would bog down the rest and all sorts of stuff would die.
Gotcha.
If he done it, I think had he done it the night before, maybe they could have spent 3 hours on it or something, and then kill it or pass it. And
Sure.
There was also
Sure.
a lot of speculation that it didn't get heard because they knew the governor was going to sign it. The governor could sign it and say, look what a moderate I am.
Gotcha.
And that Democrats did not want that. I had one Republican say to me, the moment she told you reporters that she was going to sign it, that's when it died.
Interesting. James, your thought on that one?
Meanwhile, I heard some Democrats suggesting that it didn't go far enough. I had one senator on the last night, the last night, basically said it's a feel-good bill.
Gotcha.
They wanted to see more teeth in it, I think, and what was there, they were okay saying.
But as originally written, it had some clause to it, right? I mean, Matthew mentioned it. It got a little, scratched at as
Absolutely,
it went
as
along.
originally written, it had some clause.
it'd be
Yeah.
pretty hard to enforce, though.
Seriously.
Private gun sales, that would be really hard to really enforce.
The bill as it originally was written was a mess. It was,
Okay.
it was very poorly written, and Nate Gentry, a Republican, worked with Miguel Garcia to help fix the bill and make it more palatable. Not just more palatable to the Republicans, but to make the bill more logical, because it was kind of all over the map. There were all kinds of problems with it. In fact, there was one clause that if you took it to its logical extension, you could sell a gun to a 2-year-old.
Right.
You know, so they helped tighten that bill up. I wouldn't be at all surprised, especially next year we talked about election season. I wouldn't be
Right.
at all surprised if the governor puts it on the call.
That's going to be interesting. This next go round, just before that, is going to be really fun. Tara Gatewood of Native America Calling is next. Then we'll be back with this group on the clock.